right, let's go next to Dan Hopeful at Warriors.
Hey, Ryan, if you have NFL coaches, scouts coming up to you tomorrow asking you, why they should draft Justin Fields, what are the biggest things you're going to tell them?
Well, the first thing is I think when you look at the way he competes on the field, that speaks for itself. Not only his ability to throw the ball, but his size, ability to make plays. He's a winner. He's tough, really smart, and he picks things up really quickly. So whatever they teach in terms of a scheme, he's going to pick that up very, very quickly, and he's very, very competitive. So when you combine the talent, the size, the arm strength, his competitiveness, his toughness, his intelligence, I mean, it kind of checks all the boxes. And if you were trying to design a quarterback, to me, Justin fits that prototype. Now, hasn't played 4 or 5 years of college football. So the good news is he's got a really, really high ceiling. And, whoever drafts him, if they have, a really good plan for him and continually developing him, then the sky's the limit for Justin Fields. And I don't think anyone can argue that. Whether he's, ready-made to be the number one pick in the draft, that's up to them. Every team has to make their own decision. But I know this, everything you invest in that kid, you're going to get back. And it's just a matter of the fit. But, when you start to go through all the different traits that he has, to me, he checks all the boxes. And he's a wonderful young man. So I think, someone's going to take a shot at him here early in the draft, and they're going to have a franchise quarterback for a long time.
We'll go next to Stephen Means, cleveland.com.
Ryan, just another question about the quarterback battle. Obviously, part of the benefit that Jack and CJ would have had last year is just being around Justin, whether it's in practice time or just hanging around the Woody or whatnot. How much of that did they lose with the pandemic? Not just necessarily the on the field stuff, but just some of the off the field intangibles that maybe he could have been teaching them over the past years. And how does that impact this battle now?
I think on the field stuff, they got a chance to see it for the most part. It was more of the off the field things when we would split up a little bit in terms of meeting. So they still saw it. They still got a feel for it for the year. They didn't get to see the last spring. They probably didn't get to see a whole bunch, in the off season. They did see map drills last year with Justin was awesome. So they got a good feel for it. I wish there was a couple years in a normal year where they could have been around it more to learn more. But they did at least feel it a little bit this past season.
All right, we got just time for just a couple more. We'll go to Adam Rittenberg, ESPN.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm just wondering, with your recruiting efforts, where do you see that impacting the roster the most as far as areas or groups of guys that you see being able to play right away and make an impact?
You talking about in next year's class?
Yeah, well, just the collective recruiting you've had, maybe the past class and the year before. Where do you see that maybe helping you guys the most here this coming season?
Let's see. There's 3 receivers who just came in mid-year. Those guys are going to be in the mix. 2 young running backs that both look really, really talented. I think those guys have a chance to get on the field for us. I would say certainly the quarterbacks, they're young. And then D-line, we'll see with the D-line. In the secondary, some of those guys are here. Some of those guys are getting here this summer. So it'll be interesting to see who of those guys can get on the field because, like you said, that's a position where, we could use some depth there and use some guys getting on the field. So that'll be fun to watch some of those young guys, certainly in the secondary, competing.
All right, we'll go next to Heather Dinich, ESPN.
Hey, Ryan, what do you hope this fall looks like after going through the year that you did in terms of playing in a pandemic? What can't you wait to get back to normal? What do you really hope this season looks like 1 year after the pandemic?
I hope it looks as normal as possible, staying safe. And I know that the vaccines are now available for all of our players here, this week, and those guys have to sign up on their own to get it. But I know it's available for all of our staff, and so that's exciting. And so, hopefully it can be as normal as possible. I think the most exciting thing, as a coach is that two things. One, we're able to continue to work to get better and without having any interruptions, and have a normal lead up to the season. And then two, having fans back in the stands for our players to get that response and feedback after a great play, and that support when you walk in the stadium, because call it for what it is. That's part of the reason why these guys play. They love it. They love playing in front of fans, and they didn't have that this past year. So I'd say those are probably the two areas I'm most excited about.
All right, we're going to go with three more. First one is Tom Van Aaron, ESPN.
Hey, Ryan. To go back to the question about the dead period in recruiting, when that dead period is lifted, what do you see recruiting in person looking like for those first few months? Do you plan on testing recruits that visit? Are you going to have smaller visit groups? And then is there anything different that you guys might do to try to get caught up in evaluations? And how are you preparing for that?
Well, we're waiting to see. There's really not much we can do preparation-wise other than talk to the recruits and their families about coming to visit if it does open up here in June. I think there's going to be some restrictions on how many people we can have in. You're talking about a year and a half of people who haven't been on campus. That's really two classes that haven't been here. So they're going to be coming over the walls. And so we're just going to have to be smart about all of that. But for the 2022 class, we're going to be able to do some official visits here, which is great, get them back on campus. And we're going to wait to see what the university says about, testing and that stuff when they come on campus. But there's also some talk about possibly having, whether it's camps or even in-person evaluations here when they get here. So we're waiting to find out and get some direction on what to do. And then at that point, we'll kind of go from here. But it's kind of like hurry up and wait and see what's going to happen here. But we have some contingency plans in place. Certainly talking to the families about getting them here, because I know there's a lot of people that are excited to get on campus and get around the program.
All righty, we'll do two more. First one to Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Ryan, have you given any thought to how the expansion of roster sizes this fall will kind of affect teams differently throughout the conference? Like some teams have projected to have 90-plus guys on scholarship. More teams will have more returning production and experience versus other teams. Do you have any sense on how that might look or just kind of shape the season?
Yeah, I mean, there's still restrictions on the travel squad and how many guys can you actually play. So I think there's going to be some teams that, will probably have some more fourth and fifth year seniors, and that'll be significant. For us, a lot of those guys, whether you say it's fortunate or not, I don't know. But, they leave to go on to the NFL. They typically don't stay around for that fourth and fifth year. The good news is they're good players. The bad news is they're not here for that fourth and fifth year. And certainly the fourth and fifth year guys that are in our program, really, they bring the leadership and maturity that you need to make, championship runs. And so we try to, really foster their leadership. And so the more of those guys we can have around, the better for us. So we certainly want those guys around, and you can't play all of them. NFL rosters are, right around 53, and then have a few travel squad guys or practice squad guys, and then for us we're at 85. So getting north of that to 90, I don't think it's going to really make a difference in the end, other than the fact that there's going to be maybe some more fourth and fifth year guys on some rosters and some more veteran leadership, I would think.
All righty, we'll wrap it up today with Steve Hellwagon, 247.
Yeah, Coach, I'm curious about your center position. I know Harry Miller sounds like he's not practicing, and who's repping there? And when you build your offensive line, you have the two tackles back and Miller, but are you starting at center and building out from there, or are you looking for the best five guys, or what's the rationale? Kind of a two-part question there.
Yeah, we're looking for the best five guys. That's for sure. And whatever that looks like, we'll try to make that work. We've done that in the past. Repping right now at center is Matt Jones, Luke Whippler, and Jacob James. But we can easily, when Harry gets back, he can move into center. We have some other guys taking snaps along the way that can do it as well. So we'll look for the top, like you said, the best five guys, and then we'll try to make it work from there. And so far, I got to give Matt credit. He's done a nice job in there. done a really good job, and hasn't really done a whole bunch of that leading into the season. And then I think Luke's had a pretty good offseason. He's gotten stronger, so that's been great. As another guy who really needs a spring. And then I got to give Jacob credit. Jacob really did a great job this offseason, growing up and getting stronger. Still a long way to go for a lot of these guys, but steps in the right direction, and that's what spring ball is all about.
Thank you.
All righty, Coach. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it today.
Sure. Thanks, guys.